The consensus seems to be with YCC, the tweak, yes, it was a stunner. No expectation, according to the survey, for any more surprises going into at least 2024. Does this remove an element of uncertainty for equity investors and allows kind of the next leg up when it comes to the Japan stock rally?
Yeah, I mean, I think not just for Japan, for some of the other big markets, this was definitely an event risk, the idea of a yield curve control change by the BOJ. I think this is great for Japan equity story. You still have a trajectory of a stronger yen. You have a measured, controlled policy change, controlled growth, controlled inflation at the moment. And these are all good things that investors like when they're looking for equity market growth, particularly when you've seen that aggressive move up, and now you're looking for a stable move forward so you can do long-term tactical asset allocation. So yeah, we think this is very constructive for the equity market.
And a lot of that aggressive move up was really centered on certain stocks, right? Obviously, the AI chip-related names, the trading houses. In this next, I guess, more nuanced part of the rally, where are you seeing opportunities?
Well, Japan probably. A lot of the other markets, the nuance is even more because, like you said, you've had this aggressive move. In Japan, a lot of investors are still sitting at a low asset allocation. Global investors, 2-3% asset allocation to Japan, even though it's a G3 economy. So we think there's still a structural shift from investors saying, okay, Japan is now something I need to be invested in as a global diversified fund. So I think it's still going to be pretty broad across the space. But when it comes to, where we're going to get the next big push, you highlighted AI. We do believe AI in Asia still has a lot of legs to go. Where you can still see support there is in the nations that are adopting that's ready for AI. And Japan is one of them. Japan is ready for that. And how it also plays into other sectors like robotics, like assistance for the elderly, like medicine. There's a lot of spaces there that's interesting. Alongside property's become heavily important in Japan. And really, I think the biggest catalyst for Japan is now locals buying local again. You're having cash coming out of deposits and going into the markets. And that's really good for the long-term stability of the market.
Gareth, will investors be more optimistic about the Chinese markets? Will they brave going into the uncertainty of China, given all of the measures announced by Beijing for economic growth?
Well, I think China in Asia is not our preferred choice. Tactically, it's been something that we've liked over the last few months, but on a medium term, we still think there's headwinds. So tactically, yes, valuation was very attractive. Many market participants were saying, throwing the towel in, and the stimulus has come at a very timely moment. When you dive into the stimulus and you look at how much it can actually gain, it's still got more to come to really see the growth angle change. So for us, whilst the tactical trade has been great, for a more longer term initiative in China, we need to focus on the aspects of the market that are going to be supported by the government. So we're looking at resilience factors around security, around defense, around food, around energy. These are spaces which we think still have longer term legs, whilst the short term space around tech has really run up quite high. We still think some legs from here, but we want to be very nimble when it comes to China whilst the stimulus still plays through.
If you're liking tech and the potential of AI, how do you feel about some of those northeastern tech hardware companies like Samsung or TSMC?
They're very solid, and they're going to remain solid. For us, in the AI space, we like the metaphor of the fridge and Coca-Cola. A lot of people made money on the refrigerator. That's what the AI is at the moment. But the real money was made from Coca-Cola coming and using the refrigerator. It's the people and the companies that are going to use AI that's really going to benefit. That's what we're looking for, the next Coca-Cola equivalent in AI. So the manufacturers, like you highlighted, great for the first stage of this rally. The next stage is the new and upcoming. Who can take advantage of that? So we're looking at the next level, the users of AI and where that advantage is going to come through on the thematic.